Have you ever wondered if young kids can learn the ATP forehand, the modern forehand, the NextGen forehand? Well, I'm excited to share with you an 8-year-old student of mine who demonstrates excellent ATP technique. Let's dive in. So here we have a few pros to look at. You got Sinner, Alcaraz, beautiful straight arm. There's a Lasso. We got a regular Alcaraz swing here. Watch the takeback. Watch the racket position and the straight arm. One more Alcaraz here. Look at that beautiful straight arm. And I'm going to show you this with my 8-year-old student, that he's getting a lot of the characteristics of these ATP players. Here's Fonseca. And just want to whet your appetite here. And look at these beautiful ATP forehands. Look at some of the characteristics. And then when you see my little 8-year-old player, I think you're going to see a lot of similarities, which I think is very exciting and just goes to show you. Here's Dimitrov. Goes to show you that it is possible to get the straight arm. It is possible to get the lag. Here's Ruud. And I think Ruud's forehand is the closest analogy to what my little 8-year-old Eli can do. And he's coming up right now. So, guys, enjoy. You can see all these pros and let me know if you think the little guy can match this. It's Chris Lewitt here, top American junior coach and coach to many number one juniors in the United States. Let's look at this little guy. He's an 8-year-old that I've been working with. I am a high performance junior coach and I work with many talented young kids, but I think this one is pretty exceptional. Let me know what you think. If you're interested in ATP mechanics and the modern forehand, I think you'll really enjoy this study, even if you're an adult trying to learn. Watch what this little guy can do. So here's one of the most special things about it is you have, for 8 years old, you get very good lag here and a nice straight arm extension. Pretty awesome. I'll show you that more in detail. We've got a number of different views here, so stay tuned. There are a number of different angles that we'll go over here. For this 8-year-old, he's got a semi-Western grip. It's not a Western grip. A lot of young kids get caught in a Western grip situation or extreme Western grip. I prefer semi-Western. That's one of the most common grips used on the Pro Tour, even though you do see some guys like Alcaraz and others using closer to a composite grip, like between Eastern and semi-Western. But semi-Western is still kind of the way to go for most kids. The takeback here is not typically next gen in terms of the racket. It's up, and a lot of players now like Alcaraz and Sinner's got a different style takeback. I'll show you a couple clips of that. Alcaraz, Sinner, and a few others. The racket's vertical, which typically you see with a lot of WTA players, and Eli doesn't take the arms back together like Alcaraz, and he doesn't point the tip this way towards the incoming ball. He points the tip straight up, and the hands are separated at this moment. So a lot of people are trying to copy Alcaraz and other pros who hold on to the racket longer and as they're coiling, but I don't mind the early separation here as long as the player gets a good trunk rotation. People talk about the trunk rotation, but that left arm separation can also help you measure the ball. Getting that left arm out here as best you can, even straighter possibly, can help you measure the distance as the ball is coming in. It can be a good measuring stick. So as we go through the motion here, guys, check this out. This is interesting. The racket is on the right side of the body. So, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for this defining line here, this wall here, and the player keeps the racket on that side of the body. And this is kind of cool. There's a little extra like pronation here. I don't know if you can see that, maybe on this one. So the strings are starting to get a little bit next gen here as he pronates his forearm. And you can see the strings starting to point a little bit back to the fence, which is cool. So it's like a little bit next gen, extra, possibly extra stretch in the internal rotators of the shoulder by getting that extra forearm pronation there. That's one of my theories, that players are doing that next gen take back where you turn the racket strings to the back wall to try to get a little bit more stretch in the internal rotators, pre-stretch, so that you can get a better short stretch cycle effect as you're whipping the racket through. Better elastic effect. Watch this. So there's no drift. Most kids at this age, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, they have a big bubble loop. The racket's coming to the other side of the body. You probably see the racket over here somewhere, right? And this guy's doing a great job keeping the racket on the right side of the body. Look at this straight arm position. This is so rare at this age. I'll show you a bunch of different looks at this. But look at this straight arm position. Super fantastic. Look at the lag here. Racket lagging behind. Hips rotating, trunk rotating. You have the obliques, the external and internal obliques rotating big time here. You have the hips rotating here. And that's creating the pull on the racket head, which causes that lag. But you have to stay super elastic to get the lag, so he's doing that. Very straight arm at impact here. And then watch this finish. Nice wiper, great internal shoulder rotation. And, I like this kind of finish where the racket is finishing inverted. If you look at where the racket's angled at the end, I like to teach that to my young students. Inverted finish, that promotes a lot of relaxation in the shoulder, elbow, and wrist joints. You're not forcing the racket up like most follow-throughs are typically, up high. Especially young kids are taught to follow through to the top of the shoulder. I think that's probably a mistake. It's better to follow through with more inversion, as shown here. There is, interestingly, a mild catch here. If you can see that, it's almost catching the forearm, almost holding the elbow position. So that just tells you how far around the racket has rotated, which is fantastic. The racket's come all the way around and is inverted down in the finish. The head is nice and still and steady, which I like. Beautiful extension, low to high swing, lifting up, and then relaxing down. And this is another marker, key biomarker that I like, where the arm is so relaxed and the kid's got so much mobility, flexibility, that you can see right here that the upper arm and the elbow is basically plastered to the abdomen, to the trunk. I like that. I don't like this, I like when the kid's that flexible that they can bring their arm all the way across like that. That's called horizontal adduction, horizontal adduction. So he's got this full horizontally adducted position of the shoulder, and everything's super relaxed and whippy at the end here. I just love that. Let's roll through and see a few more. You guys want to see a few in real time or semi-real time? Looking real nice. So these are normal ones, right? Normal power shots. And I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind. Stay tuned. I'm going to show you something that's going to... This is that little extra NextGen that I'm talking about. So he comes from the preparation here. The racket starts to drop. And as the racket's dropping, you see this extra rotation right there? That's going to put... I think that may put the internal shoulder rotators on more stretch. So we know that when you pronate the forearm, it can trigger the internal shoulder rotation. And I think that's what's happening there. And look at this position. Pull, and straight to the ball here. Making that nice pull through the slot here. Great drop of the racket head for topspin. You can tell this is going to be a really good topspin swing here. Look at that extension here. Look how it extends up and out. Lifting and extending. That's the key. You don't wiper too soon. You lift and extend till you hit the end range of where your shoulder can reach forward. You that maximum stretch there, and then you wiper. I'm going to blow your minds here with the reverse and lasso finish that this kid has. It's coming. Can't wait to show you that. He's got a great lasso. There's one. Very nice. Let's take a look at that. See if I can get that lasso for you. There it is. We just studied this in a previous video, last couple videos on the channel. Check this out. Pretty good extension. Just like we were watching with Rafa and Team and Alcaraz and so many top players now who are doing this. We were studying Medvedev last video. Look at this extended arm up high. And then he's going to wrap it around his head here. He's got the flare outward. Look how relaxed the wrist is there. Super mobile. Super whippy. Super loose. That's what you want. Look at that right here. I like how the shoulder externally rotates here at the end. So you go from that extreme internal rotation, like the wrist is extended, and also the shoulders externally rotated through this finish, this near the finishing position here. Look how cool that is. Around the head. Remember, this is 8 years old. It's just excellent to see this. Basically got an ATP forehand at this age, all backed up by video analysis. You know, it's not just someone's opinion saying, hey, your forehand looks really good. I got it in slow-mo and it looks unbelievable. Show you guys a few more. So proud of this kid. We've been working on this for a while now, and he was having trouble being super cramped, and he wasn't sure, how much spacing he should have. And I encouraged him to work on the straight arm. Here, we got to stop that and take a look, because I believe that young kids can get that straight or straighter arm configuration. Check this one out. Great angle here. Boom. Very nice. You caught this one a little low here. Still, I mean, just look at the structure of the arm. Look at the straight lever here. Boom. Wipering, internal shoulder rotation. Super relaxed finish. So he has a modified catch here. This is the kind of catch that I like. You see how his hand is almost supporting the elbow there, but the rest of the racket is super relaxed and drifting down. I call this the drift. Right here, the racket's just super, there's the absence of tension in here. All through here, very little tension, and the racket's just drifting down, super relaxed. And you see this right angle in the arm here. That's a telltale sign. Get like a right angle more or less in the arm there, in the elbow. Nice, super relaxed finish. That's the look. Eyes looking straight ahead. 90-degree position in the arm there. Racket inverted. Inverted just means the racket's downward. It's a little blocked here, but his racket's low. That's a good shot right there. You can see it. Racket downward. Rather than a typical racket up finish. So Eli does an awesome job of demonstrating some different variations here. Here's another reverse, another lasso. I think this one's really cool. If you check this out. So he's not meeting the ball late. See, that's a misconception. A lot of people think you lasso or reverse when you meet the ball late. Look, he's super early here. Look at the arm here. His arm is super extended. He's got maximum space between his body and the ball. That's what you want. You want this big window here. This is what I try to teach the young kids. This can help anybody. You want this big window right here, that big gap. That allows you to, that promotes that straight lever. That promotes much better extension, better power transfer. So this is what I think is happening with a lot of players when they're trying to go up and around their head. They're thinking they're going to lift the ball. So their tactical intention is, all right, I'm going to lift this ball. Sometimes they do it on higher balls. This one's fairly high, up near the midsection or closer to the chest level. And I think players are oftentimes are thinking, I'm going to swing up. I'm going to swing up with more lift. I'm going to try to get a little more angle of the racket going up in terms of the trajectory of the racket path. I'm going to be going up, and then I'm going to try to get a little extra top spin and height on the ball. In other words, I don't think you see a lot of these types of lasso swings on a ball that has no lift, that has very little margin over the net. I think in general, unless you're hitting like a sharp angle, which is possible, you're looking to get a lot of lift and height and a more high bouncing ball on the other side. Drop a comment and let me know if you agree with that or not. Do you think that players, when they're using the lasso, when they're using this, they're thinking more upward swing? And you can see here the racket is, this is a good demonstration where the racket's going to be going on a pretty slanted upward slope here, you know, pretty good angle here. That's kind of where he's swinging from there upward, and then it's just going to keep, you know, following it up and around and continue on with the lasso. You know, he could follow through around normally to the left side of the shoulder, left bicep, but you know, I just think it's more comfortable. You're already up high like this. I mean, look where the hand is. You're already up here. You know, it's kind of like Statue of Liberty position here. And why not just let it, you know, if you're doing it at a high speed, which I've hypothesized, you know, the players are swinging at such a high speed, it makes sense to have that longer runway to follow through. It feels comfortable to just let the racket decelerate around, you know, that pathway, and then ends up kind of over here somewhere. Look how loose this is what I was talking about with the shoulder external rotation. So you have internal shoulder rotation when you're hitting the forehand, and then look at this finish. He goes through, and all the players, including Alcaraz and Sinner, he's going through basically counter movement, external shoulder rotation on this finishing near this end position, and the wrist is laid back and relaxed, and the racket is flared. Racket's flared out like that. And then you just bring the racket down to the center, and this is exactly the same start position or restart position that we saw in all the pros. And I'll compare a few Alcaraz and Sinner. I'll show you guys. The pros they finish exactly like this after a lasso. Super cool. I'll show you again in slow motion. Look at the lag here. Super lag. I mean, this is 8 years old, guys. This is a super mobile kid, very elastic, great whip, semi-open stance. That's another thing. If you got a young junior, teach him a semi-open. Don't teach him too much full open, kind of protect the hip, protect the labrum, but definitely teach him a semi-open and teach him to jump a little. I taught this little guy to get off the ground. Let's see if he does it. Look at that. Gets off the ground. This is another key point. As he's rotating his body, boom. The chest is open. The hips have opened. The trunk's open. The body's facing forward. Eyes facing forward. And this is at impact. So you're going to see like a full rotation into impact, pulling the racket through. Check out the feet here. Both feet are off the ground. Try to show you that. Boom. Boom. This is the landing. There we go. Off the ground at the hit. Both feet off the ground. And this is something I think also is very important that a lot of people don't focus on. The hip abduction. You can see it right here. Abduction. Abduction. Hips going out, creating a wider base for the landing. Good landing on the balls of the feet, the forefoot. So the hips are going out midair, and that's something that I work on a lot. Casper Ruud's a great example of that. I'll show you a clip of him. Great hip abduction in midair. Then you get this nice wide base. And he's got the compression of the legs here. He's got flexion in the knees, sort of like a half squat here. And then that gives you a great base of support to get ready for the next shot. So I try to share with you here some of these important technical fundamentals that I worked on with Eli, with this boy, and you can take these and apply them to your own game or any students you might be working with. Here's a closed stance or a neutral stance. Sometimes I just call it a closed stance, but basically a neutral stance. And I want you to see how nice this is. Check this out. So we got a neutral stance. Usually the kids don't jump on a neutral stance, so in this time he did not. If you look down here, he stays grounded, but he gets 1 foot off the ground. The left foot stays as a post and a pivot point, and the rest of his body rotates, and he brings that right foot forward. But look at the end again, you have that nice hip abduction. The hips get wider to establish the base after the impact. Very important, that abduction. Work on that a lot with kids. Most players, when they go to strike the ball and accelerate, they adduct. They bring their legs together. They add their legs together. They bring their hips closer together. And that's a mistake. It doesn't give you a stable base for the next movement if you need to sprint to another ball or recover. Look at the lag here. This is for me, this is unbelievable for 8 years old. And I coach a lot of top kids, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And it's not easy to get this. I have had success getting good lag. First of all, the swing's on the right side of the body. This racket is not coming around and crossing the plane. He's on the right side of the body, so the hitting side. So sometimes it's called chest side. In Australia, they like to call it chest side rather than the back side. And this racket, this is that little extra forearm pronation that I talked about. How cool is that? Possibly, hypothetically, putting the internal shoulder rotators on a little extra stretch to get more racket speed, possibly. I think that's a good hypothesis we should try to prove in the research lab. So here you see the strings are facing down, and then look, now the strings have turned out more. That is pronation, right? So here's where you can see all this acceleration as he pulls through here. Look, the hips and trunk are rotating, and check out how much lag he's getting for a young age. Great lag through here. Pulling the racket through here right into impact. And again, we're getting impact with a straight arm. Just awesome. Possibly like to see this racket a little more in alignment with the arm, so a slightly less depressed position. I think most pros are like this. I'll have to check that. I'll do a comparison and throw that in here. But it seems like sometimes Eli's a little, the racket is a little low in this position at impact, but he hits it so well. This is all in slow motion analysis. In real time, he hits it so well. But I like to compare. I'll throw in a few clips, because if I recall, most pros, you don't see the racket at this angle to the hand at impact. I'll have to check that for you guys. But just fantastic. You got so many good ingredients here that other people can learn from, other kids can learn from. Racket on the right side, lag, pull it through with a great hip rotation, and essentially extension. Extension, space. I'll try to give you a few more angles here. What do you guys think? You like this forehand for an 8-year-old? I mean, this is so much different than you see like most 8-year-olds who are, stepping in, they're rigid, they're following through to the shoulder. I just don't like that traditional model. This is how I'd like to see a young kid under 10 learn to swing. All right, checked it. We got another lasso, another reverse here. This is where he doesn't separate. He separates a little early as compared to like an Alcaraz. Typically, a lot of WTA players do this. He's got a little bit WTA here. But Ruud does this. I'll put Ruud up here. Ruud separates early like this. And Ruud takes it back, I think, very similar to this with the vertical racket head. Alcaraz would have the racket head pointing. A lot of players do this now. They have the racket head pointing a little more forward, and they bring maybe the elbow back higher. He's got that lower elbow position with the racket vertical. Like a Kyrgios or Kokkinakis, they prop the elbow up. Like in the old days, Sampras did that. A lot of good players. Lendl did that. A lot of good players do that on the forehand. They bring the elbow up in the beginning. This is a more classic elbow position, definitely a more classic start position or take back position with the racket vertical. And you can see here that the hands have already separated. It doesn't really bother me that much. Yeah, I could get him to look like Alcaraz. If I got him to point the tip of the racket more that way, and I maybe raise his elbow up a little bit. Like another guy comes to mind, Andy Roddick, who used to do that. A lot of top players bring the elbow up like that. But there's just different styles for different players. You don't have to do it that way. I don't like how everyone's forcing the kids to look like Alcaraz now just because he holds on to the racket for a long time. That's not the only way to take back the racket. Although it is a good way to take back the racket. So he's separated here, got good trunk rotation. This is the lag we were talking about, tremendous lag. Swinging low to high. Here's basically impact. And that's what I was saying. Looks like the racket is like a little... I think most pros are not quite at that angle, at impact, in terms of the relationship between the racket and the hand. But this one looks a little better, actually, than some of the other ones. I think maybe he's trying to get extra topspin. He might be dropping that racket a little bit more than he should. But watch this lift. Lift, lift, lift. This is great. This is where the topspin is coming from. The racket's coming from down here, up to the ball. And why not just keep going around the head, with the lasso? That's what he does here. The only way to do this is by being super relaxed, super loose. Check this out. He didn't lasso that one. Thought there was the lasso. That's a good example. See, it looks like he totally could lasso here. So here's the big mystery of tough tennis technique. From here, he could easily come around. I'll show you the next one where he does, but he just decides to come over and follow through to the bicep or to the hip near mid, or he goes basically to the bicep. Where's the lasso? Maybe it's this one. Let's see. No, sorry. I'll get you the lasso right here. This is super cool. 8 years old. Here we go. All right, so he's coming up. So look, this is very similar swing path. Low to high. That's what I'm talking about. So where does the lasso come from? Is he just thinking lifting a little bit more? Is he swinging a little faster so he wants a little more room to follow through, the comfort of the longer deceleration pathway? Is he thinking a little more topspin that we can't really tell from video? Is it a little slightly more angled? Something so subtle that we can't quite pick it up on video, and that's what causes this. This one comes straight up and back. So that's not typical. You usually see the pros lasso around the left ear, and this one never makes it to the left ear. It's basically like a hook lasso. It comes straight up on the right side of the body. Interesting. So you got to think that the players get a little bit less pace, right? A little bit less straight drive. Although he's fully extended here. This is the mystery. His arm's fully extended. He's not late, but he comes up here like he is a little bit late, almost like a hook. When typically I expect him to bring the racket up around his right ear if he's late, but he's not late. Look how relaxed this is. Look where the racket is. Racket's going down here. You know how relaxed you have to be there? This looks almost like the position when you're, accelerating for a serve. This is external, as I mentioned, external shoulder rotation. And then the racket just drifts around, super relaxed, nice pathway to the finish. But man, I've seen a lot of kids you don't see most kids at the local club swinging like this. And if they do, usually the coaches try to change them. Like if a kid did this at the most normal local club, the coach would shut them down and tell them to follow through to their shoulder. Most likely, unfortunately, because this thing is beautiful. So now he's starting to hit through the ball. You got to think that the tactical intention for these kind of swings is to hit through the ball more, to hit with less spin. Definitely these all have topspin, but less spin and maximum pace. And you got to think that the tactical intention for a lasso is a little more spin, a little more upward swing, a little more shape on the ball, right? I mean, do you guys agree or disagree? Is the lasso a result of a tactical intention that's different than a follow through to the biceps, And if we're teaching it, would suggesting that to a young kid or to a student, suggesting that a kid try the lasso, could that have any benefit from a teaching point of view, as a teaching cue? Which I've often argued is the case. If I get a kid the lasso, does that help the joints in the arm, wrist, elbow? Does that help those joints stay more relaxed, stay more loose? Does it promote looseness? There was a good one. Check this one out. In other words, if I teach a kid the lasso, could that encourage an upward swing path? Maybe for extra topspin? Could that encourage a more relaxed arm, which would help me get more whip? I understand that the lasso is a result of what happens before biomechanically, but from a teaching point of view, could it also be used as a cue to help a kid learn certain aspects of the swing, like staying loose and elastic, or swinging upward for more topspin? Certainly, when you're caught late, I think kids should be taught to do the hook swing when they're caught late to try to promote topspin and control of the ball. Here's a cool one. Yeah, this is a little unorthodox too. He's got pretty good impact here, so he's not late. He's going to come straight up and around. We did see Medvedev do some variations similar to this in the last video that we studied. Interesting variations here. You see all sorts of interesting variations. One of my key points is that there's a number of different lasso and reverse finishes. There's what I call a hook finish. There's a lasso. There's an additional finish that I don't even have a name for. I've been studying a bunch of them. There's a finish where the racket comes up and straight back on the right side, and I don't even know that anyone's identified or named that one. I've been studying a lot of different types of these reverse finishes, and I think there's a number of very, very interesting variations, and most people just say, oh, people lasso when they're late. And that's really, it's a little more complex than that. It's more nuanced than that. And I just want to understand the mystery of how is this swing, how has it become so commonplace? You used to see the occasional player lasso or hook finish over the years, in the past 30 years, let's say, occasionally. But ever since Nadal started doing this lasso type swing, it seems that the technique has proliferated on tour, and it's become very, very common. And that's what I'm fascinated by. All right, we'll finish some of these up in real time. It's been a great study, great little demo from my little superstar, Eli. All these shots are in, by the way. This kid was in the zone. Like, none of these shots are in the net. He's doing a great job of getting under the ball and lifting, hitting the ball strong. I like the acceleration. I like the rhythm here. If you notice the rhythm, this is a nice rhythm for under 10, under 12. Obviously, if the ball's coming fast, you got to take the racket back fast. But look how chill he is here. Slow, 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 slow. Then he's going to step and plant. Still slow, gravity drop. gravity drop. You know, the racket's he's getting prepared to explode in lag here. And now here comes the energy. Look how he's driving from the legs with ground reaction force. It's fantastic. He's got the energy, he's pushing force into the ground. The energy's coming back up. And then then these hips and the abdominal musculature is going to rotate big time and pull that racket through with lag because he's so relaxed. He's able to get lag. Look at this loading. This is what you want. Wide base, just awesome loading here. Most kids don't load like this. And now fast. So you have this kind of like slow build up, slow, slow, slow. I like this. I learned this in Spain. You know, on clay courts, this is a very common rhythm. Slow. In other words, he's not immediately back. He's taking his time. The racket's moving slowly, gradual, gradual, gradual. Now load, explode, and fast. So he's changing speed there. Really good. I learned that in Spain on the clay courts, on the red clay. You see this style a lot on clay court, in clay court players that grow up on clay. Players that grow up on really fast courts, they oftentimes take their racket back really quick because they got to get their preparation quicker. I'm kind of partial to this style. Slow, 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 quick. Slow, 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 quick. But it has to be in the right sequence with the loading. Might have caught the net there. I think that might have been the first net ball. Look at that racket speed. That's fast. 8 years old, man. You imagine this kid's forehand when he's like 15 or 16. It's going to be a beast. Look at this one. Bah! I love that inverted finish. He's managed to whip through the ball, and the entire time he hasn't locked out his arm or his joints there. He stayed very, very whippy. I love that. To me, this is a very good model for under 10. I wish this model for under 10 was taught, around the world to kids. This is kind of what I'm trying to achieve in a young under 10-year-old. Boy or girl, by the way. I think girls can do this swing. I have a number of girls who can do this swing. I'll be happy to share those videos with you guys. I don't really buy that girls can't do this swing either. I think that they can do it just like the boys. I also think the more we work on the scap stability, scap strength, that will also help kids to get this fully extended position. Guys, what do you think? Pretty cool. I hope you liked it. If you're coming from a traditional background, it might be kind of a big shock, but I think this is the way, the game is headed. This is the modern ATP forehand, and you can get it in a young kid, boy or girl. Let me know your thoughts down below.